Hello everyone. I hope you can see the editor. I'm not sure, I'm actually gonna check. Okay, looks like you guys can see it. Today we will be examining this map by Nihil X or Raikozan. Nihil. It's called Great, and it's 7.31 stars. It's a pretty cool map that has been recommended to me by my mentors, so I will be examining this map today with all the knowledge I know about examining maps. It's probably gonna be incomplete. I'm probably gonna have a lot of questions about this map, but let's hope we'll get something done. So first of all, we have this thing over here. These four objects. So there's four repeating kicks, and then it's followed by a snare, clap over. And we're obviously following a kind of triangular shape here with these objects, right? There's three sliders and four objects. So these first four objects, they're pretty closely spaced together, and because they are the same object, they are all circles. You see, these are all four circles. They correspond to kicks, and this change in object, for example, if this was a normal circle, this wouldn't be really any emphasized, right? I mean, it will be emphasized because it has significantly more space than all these three objects, these four circles. It has significantly more spacing, and it also changes the flow. But the thing is, with this slider, first, it is spaced apart. Second, it's a slider. 3, it changes the flow to rotate. So this 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 2, 3, 4, 5 is like a this way, this clockwise motion. But 5, you see, it's slightly curved. It's not exactly linear, nor is it like curved like this. That would be maintaining the circular flow, but instead it's curved like this, so that means it changes the curve. I mean, it changes the flow, and it is emphasized on this fifth object. So this is a snare. These are all of our kicks. So I'm sure you can understand why these objects are closely spaced together and why this is more spaced to the right, because it is emphasized. It's a snare. And overall, with these 7 objects, I think it's 7, yeah, it's with these 7 objects, we're going to be making a triangular pattern. So this is not like this, because you see, this pattern leaves a lot of space over these corners and spaces. These are not really filled with anything. So in order to prevent that, Nihil placed these objects over here and left this left this place empty for some reason. Because his next pattern is going over here and not here, probably, I assume. Anyway, the first 4 objects are like that. Why is this object over here? It's a triangular shape, we already know that, but let's listen to the song. So 4 kicks, 1 snare, another kick, and then a soft sound. There's not really anything in this, the second, the slider with 2, right? So let's examine the flow closely, and the spacing. The flow from this 5, you see, this 5 is going counterclockwise towards the middle of this triangle, but this 1 is an unexpected place because it is not really following the flow. If this was following the flow, it would be like this, but that would make it not emphasized. This 1 should be emphasized because it is on a kick. This 2 should not be emphasized because it's not on a very prominent sound. And then there's nothing over here. So the spacing between the end of 5 and 1 is really big, and this changes also the flow back into a circular counterclockwise motion. Counterclockwise motion. And then this 2 is not really that spaced apart, and it's like following the flow, right? It's not curved. This is not a curved slider. I mean, it could have been. It wouldn't really make any difference. But in order to emphasize the two, I mean, not to emphasize, to not emphasize, because these are the sliders that change the flow of the pattern. But this doesn't change the flow, and it follows the flow, so it shouldn't really be curved in any way. And the spacing is really small, so this too is not really emphasized. And then we have a small gap over here with the end of 2 and the start of 3, 4, and 5. This is a burst. So the thing with bursts are that these three objects, this 3 is a stop motion. When your cursor comes to this 3 and it's pressing the burst, your cursor is in a stop motion. And then at the 5th object right here, I mean the 3rd object, I mean if you could count like this, 1, 2, 3, the 3rd object is a slider, and it emphasizes the movement of the slider that is 3. If this was not a slider of 3, then it would emphasize the next object, or this 3 object, presumably. So the thing to keep in mind here is that there is a snare at 5 over here, and what Nihil did is put a stop motion right before the snare with a small spacing after this end of the slider with 2, and the 3, it's a small spacing, and then there's a stop motion. So this 5 is really emphasized because it is both an object change from a circle to a slider. It's an object change. Second, it's from a stop motion to fucking slider velocity 2.1. It's a very fast movement. And then there's also a change of flow over here, because you see 1 and 2, they go in a clockwise motion, and then end of 2 into 3 also clockwise motion. But 5 is not really following that clockwise motion. If it would follow it, it would probably be, this would be linear, because from the end of the thing from to there, it's a linear. This is a clockwise motion. This is like a 60-degree angle, 120-degree angle, 180-degree angle, and then so yeah, anywhere between these places are following the flow, and then anywhere in this region is breaking the flow, the counterclockwise clockwise flow. And because this is also a stop motion, the flow doesn't really matter here as much, because at 5 you're gonna be moving in whatever direction you want to go, right? Because you're already stopped, so it doesn't really matter. But yeah, Nihil goes over here to the left, which follows a, I don't know, like a kind of axis. Let's see what the axis of the slider is. So if I rotate this, how many? 18 degrees, it's gonna be perfectly horizontal. So this means this is on an 18-degree axis, and this axis is kind of aligned with these two objects. Like, it's not really apparent that much, but you can kind of tell that it is somewhat connected to this triangle that we put here before. There is a 3/4 slider over here for some reason. I don't really understand why, but there is a really small stop motion over here also, because the end of the slider and the object 6 is overlapped, perfect overlapping, but I don't really understand why. And this is also not a perfect overlap, like it's a slight moved like this. Okay, you see 5 and 6, they follow it, and then they're both like held notes because they are the same sound, right? They're sliders because they play the same sound. There's not really any flow change between 5 and 6. And then we have 1 over here, which is both an object changed, but it's not really changing the flow, is it? Like, if you really like look at the flow over here, it's going counterclockwise, but it's still going counterclockwise. But the thing is with 1 is that if we had followed the normal flow over here, this 3 like kind of curvy circles, they would be placed over here or something, or over here maybe, like over here, because you see the pointer of this slider, I mean the pointer is like the kind of general area it points to. It points to like a kind of a circular area, right? Because it's like a circular slider. something like this. It points to in this general area, somewhere along this general area. It points to some circle or things. But we instead of placing over here or in this circle, we placed it right outside of this place. So this one is kind of emphasized because this is not a this is an object change. First of all, this is a slider. This is a circle. These are different. If this was also a slider, this wouldn't really be as emphasized. And then there's a curve relations going on in here because this slider is curved the same amount as these three objects, these three circles. And then we have another, there's some sort of hi-hat roll thing kind of going on over here. Like a so they're following the same, they can be made into a pattern like this, like a curvy kind of thing. And then 4 over here. You see, 4 is not really part of this thing, curvy circular thing, but it's still spaced like these objects are. You see the spacing between these 4 objects, they're almost exactly the same. Their follow points, their little follow points are touching the edge of the circle. So they're all within the same spacing, so that means they are part of the same pattern. But this 4 is kind of in an odd place because it's kind of spaced more apart than 2 and 3, and 3 and 4 there's like a two times spacing while playing it, but visually they're spaced apart the same. So that means they're in the same pattern. From 4 to 5 there is a stop motion again. the same one that we analyzed over here, and then there's a scenario over here at 5 which changes the circular flow from 3 to 4. 2, 3 to 4, it would be something like this, right? If he hadn't changed the flow, but it changes the flow, so it's curved the other way in an extreme fashion. And then it's also an object change from a circle to a slider, so makes this 5 really emphasized. There's also, we have a kick over here with a 3/4 slider again. This is a 3/4 slider. This is a maybe he's mapping the vocals over here. You see the vocals got ow or something. I don't really understand what's going on over here, but it's not a object change, but it's the same objects. Doesn't really matter that much. But when you want to emphasize things, you could use object changes, but he hasn't used object change over here, but instead he opted for 2 sliders. Maybe it's because he's doing the vocals, as I said, or it's because this rotational change and the stop motion between these 2 objects, between these 3/4 space, is so strong that he doesn't even need an object change. Or maybe he just wants to do some maybe he wants to do some rotational things over here, because you see this one is going curved like this, right? It's gonna be pointing to this general direction, but it instead goes out to this 2, making a kind of triangular pattern with these 3 objects. Like if you kind of look at it like this, it's kind of a triangle, right? But the real triangle over here is 2, 1, and this guy, because if you rotate this 120 degrees, it's the same axis with this 2. That means this is part of a triangle, and this guy participates in it also. But just my mom was calling me. 1 second. Okay, where were we? Yeah. So this thing is doing a curve relations thing, because this 1 and this 2, they're sharing a kind of like a curve. How can I rotate this, man? Please, can you rotate properly? How many degrees is this? This is 143 degrees. It's not really a triangle, but certainly shaped in a triangular-ish way. So there's like a kind of a triangle-ish pattern. So this is kind of still following one's curve. You see, this thing is kind of outside the curve, really, but not really that much. If it was like over here, it would be ultra emphasized, but it's not over there because it's not really that much emphasized. There's two kicks over here with this start of the slider, the reverse slider, and at the end. And this is not really emphasized in a curve relations way, but it's more spaced out than this end of the slider and the start of this thing. I mean, it's kind of the same. It's not really emphasized. Maybe it's emphasized because it's a different shape and it's a reverse slider and everything. So this is at this location, kind of completing the triangular thing that we talked about. And this is also spaced out like a jump, and it's a different shape from this guy. It's following the same flow. Dun dun. It's going dun dun. So it's like the same shape, same slider shape, but it's like rotate and control H'd, horizontally mirrored with a big spacing. So we have a linear kind of movement over here, and then a circular movement over here, and then we're going more circular into this guy with another flow that goes outside the screen with this tube. So he didn't choose, wait, where did I go? He didn't choose to put a slider over here, but instead he opted for a circle followed by a slider, maybe to emphasize the 1/4, I mean, is it 1/4? It's 1/2. The spacing between these two objects. It's following a very flowy pattern. It's like a flow jump. And it's going the same, these four objects, they all have the same rotational momentum. And then this three, it's outside of the curve. It's spaced more aggressively than these two objects, obviously. It's like 1.5 times more spaced out. It's going the same, like, these are both counterclockwise, right? But this is outside the curve. So this pattern is going inwards like this. Look, this is all going inwards towards the bottom right. Everything is pointing towards inward. And then this guy is outside, like fucking, this guy's outside, like, holy shit, this is outside of this pattern. It's emphasized. And it's a different shape because this is a 1-1 slider, and this is a 1-2 slider. It's smaller. It's a different shape going over here. Then the spacing between this and this is smaller than this spacing over here to this spacing. So this is not really that emphasized, but it's still emphasized because it's a new combo and it's a different shape. So this is following there's nothing really prominent at 2 once again, and this is following the curve. I mean the flow. It's not really outside of anything like this. This will be outside of the flow. This would still be outside of the flow. This would be inside the flow. This would be inside the flow. This would kind of be 90 degrees, like an angle, so it would be kind of weird, emphasized. So there is something interesting happening here. There is a kick at the inactive sound, the end of the slider tail. So what do we do over here? There's multiple things we can do. We can do, first of all, we can do not this. Instead, we can put something like this over here. But if you still want to opt into this, you need to emphasize this guy over here. So the space between this end of the slider and 3, and then 1, and then 2, they're all like a four object jump pattern, going back and forth. So think of this pattern like this instead. It goes this. Oh my god, what am I pressing? Where am I? Think of this pattern like this. Okay, you see this 2, and then, I mean, it should be at over here. This 2, and then there is a slider right here, like this, right? this works, but if we have a 2, if the end of the slider with 2 is on an inactive object, we have to like make the spacing bigger like a jump instead of putting it really close like this, so it wouldn't be emphasized. So that's the thing, and it's really, this is like a circular flow from 1 to 2. It's going circular like this is like this big circle. Can I place an object like this circle? It's going in a circle like this, and then this goes from a circular motion into a back and forth motion between the end of these, end of the slider, this 3 1 2 jump. I haven't really done 1 2 3 analysis. Let me see if there's any 1 2 3s in here. There's a 1 2 3 over here. If I can see it correctly, so this is 1 2 3. Not really 1, 2, and 3, because this is the first object. These two are the middleman, and then this 4 is related to 1 because it's visually spaced together. So there's our 1 2 3. Maybe, yeah, no, that's not a 1 2 3. There's a 1 2 3 over here. So this 1, 2, and 3, this guy is related to this because they're closely spaced together. Another 1 2 3 over here with these guys. This guy is 1, this guy is 2, this guy is 3. 1 2 3 theory, if you don't know, is actually, of course, let me show you. You have object 1. You have object 1, and then you have object 2, right? You have object 2 in a different place, and then you have object 3, which is related to object 1 in some form. So this is a 1 2 3. What is this 1 2 3? This is 1, this is 2, this is 3. Why this is a 1 2 3? 1 and 3, they are related because this 3 is spaced together with the end of the slider. This relation between object 1 and 1 and 3 can be like literally anything. It could be a blanket, it could be an overlap, it could be curve relations, all kinds of stuff, you know. So this could be done with, for example, like this. We have object 1 over here, and then we have object 2. Now let's say we have object 1 again, but like rotated this many degrees. So this is another 1 2 3 where I have the same curve in like a triangular pattern, and this is 2. This could be like very far away. It doesn't really matter. It doesn't have to be related to these guys in any way, shape, or form, but like it needs to play good. So this really kind of plays kind of bad, but I'm a bad mapper, so it doesn't really matter. And we can after this we can maybe complete the pattern, the triangular pattern, with something like this, or maybe put like something like this over here. Now everything goes. So that's 1 2 3. Where were we again? I was looking at 1 2 3s. There's another 1 2 3 over here with this 3, and 1 2 3. So this 1 and 3 are related together because they're closely spaced, visually spaced. So this kind of motion, if you realize this 1 2 and 1 2, this spacing gets bigger, but it's like they're on the same axis, so it's really cool and it plays good. And this 2 is extremely spaced because it's like on a bam. It's like a lead melody thing. There's a lead melody going bam 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 bam. See? So this spacing is really big, and we're kind of following an infinity kind of pattern over here after the jump. Boom! And then this is really emphasized. I can't really tell why, but like it's changing the flow. It's a different object. It's a curved 1 1 slider. It's spaced apart. It's curved this much, and it's like changing the circular flow. Everything about this like extremely emphasized. And then we have another kick over here, a kick with a snare. So there's another important thing happening here, which is the end of this 1 slider. It is a snare, but it's an inactive sound. but it still feels very emphasized. Why is that? Because this end of the slider, even if it's an inactive object, this is like a stop motion, right? On the stop motion, there's a 1-1 gap over here, and in this 1-1 gap, Nihil decided to overlap this 1 with the end of this tail to make a stop motion. So this 1 is emphasized while this end of this thing is still emphasized because it's the start of a stop motion. And then going back to the head of the 1, actually, this is what the fuck are you doing? The tail of the slider and the start of this 1 is still very big. Spacing, as you can see, this spacing is really big. So it's this is emphasized and this is emphasized, but then we have a stop. And then the flow is kind of the same, but it doesn't really matter because it's a stop motion once again. But same sliders over here rotated 90 degrees, filling in the space created by this slider that is 2. Kind of. I mean, you could also have this if we hadn't made the stop motion thing, or we made the spacing smaller, but that wouldn't really be emphasizing this guy over here as much. So this is over here. So there's another 1, 2, 3 over here. If I can, I mean, it doesn't really count as 1, 2, 3, but like object 1, 2, 3, 1 and 3 are spaced kind of visually together. If this was more like this, it would be more of a 1, 2, 3, but it isn't. I don't really know why. So these guys really follow a kind of the same axis as you can see over here. This is like the same axis with these two sliders. It's just mirrored. Also, there's also another axis over here with this, the start of the circle. The start of the circle, it makes this axis, and then the end of the circle, it makes this axis. I don't know if you realize this, but this circle also, this slider, curved slider, also contributes to the axis of this pattern. So this pattern over here comes from axis this, and this slider is a transition between this axis and this axis. So if you can look at the start of the circle, I mean this slider, it's this axis, and if you look at the end of the circle, I mean the slider, it's this axis. And this axis is repeated with a mirror over here on the left side. I don't know why this is that much emphasized. I mean, I would put this maybe over here. Excuse me. Can you hear it? So we're having a circular pattern over here with the same circular flow between these 5 objects. The end of the slider, this, and this, they follow the same circular thing. If you would make this a different pattern, for example, like a back and forth motion, we would do something like this. To follow what we did here, we could maybe repeat it. It would be like this. So this guy goes over here, and then this guy goes over here and maybe here, and then this guy could maybe go over here. See, it's the same idea, goes back and forth. The end of this guy, this is not the same or axis actually. This should be more like it. Okay, let's see what he did here. He went back from this slider to the middle. You see, this slider, this 3 is really in the like a middle, but like shifted over to the left. So let's do that. Let's follow that. Let's follow that. We can go back over here to over here. We can go like where is it? Is it outside or inside? It's at the end of the other side. The slider, end of the slider, outside. On the other side like this. So that means we're gonna have it like this. Oh, it's outside. It's outside, so like this. it would be something like this, but it doesn't really work out over here because we don't really have any space on the top left side over here. So what we can do is maybe we can this kind of guy over here. And then this guy would need to change to be somewhere else. He doesn't really use this map. Anyway, I'm trying to change a pattern, but it doesn't really need changing. This works perfectly fine. This would be if you wanted to change it. So we have a circular thing going on over here with the spacing between these 5 guys being shared. This guy is not really. I mean, it could if it was here, it would be a very geometrical pattern, but he's over here. This is a flow kind of thing. This too changes the flow. And going into this guy with a very close small spacing. So the spacing between 1 and 2 is really big. That means 1 is emphasized and 2 is also emphasized. Or maybe just 1 is emphasized because this 2 is not really emphasized because it's following the same like flow. Maybe. So this 2 is changing the flow because the song is going good, and then we have a small spacing over here from the end of the 2 into 1 because there's not really is not really. I mean, you could emphasize it, but I don't know what he's following here. But this 1 and 2 is really spaced apart because that's the kind of rhythm choice he has going on. I would have gone like this with like a wait, wrong place, not over here, over here. I would have gone with something like this. And in the rhythm section, I would have gone with this, but he instead went with this guy over here in the rhythm. So he has to make this guy a big spacing, and then this guy should not really be emphasized because there's not really anything at 2 over here, so it's not really required for it to be emphasized. This would make it emphasized because going outside the curve, like a weird curve, this plays comfortably. So here's the thing, this 3, it's like a slider that goes from 90 degrees of the slider's tail. So this slider's tail has an angle. This slider's tail has an angle. I mean axis. It has 2 axes. They're both 15 degrees, about 15 degrees. So this guy is the mirrored version of this axis. As you can see, it's like a perfect match. It's like a perfect match. It's from 90 degrees pointing right over here, and it's outside of the curve. So if we would be expecting it to be over here if you would make it not emphasized and play it comfortably. But this does not play comfortably because it's a snare, it's needs to be emphasized. This one is also emphasized because it doesn't really follow any flow. Once again, with just like the 3, it has the same axis rotated 90 degrees. And it's outside of the curve, I mean outside of the flow. Because it's a kick, it needs to be emphasized. It's the same object, there's no object change over here, but there's a shape change between these 2 objects, between 2 and 3. So the end of the 1 and the start of this 2 is not really that big of a spacing because there's not really anything happening at 2 specifically at this location. The end of this 2 is really an interesting case because I don't really know why he did this. The spacing is really small. And this 2 is kind of like very emphasized. This 2 is really small spaced, but it's really emphasized because it changes the curves, like a different curves, like a pointy thing over here at this tail going on. It's pointy thing. I don't really know why he's like. And this is a kick. It should be emphasized, so you would expect it to be like something like this instead. Maybe following the same axis with this 3 guy. So you see, we have this back and forth kind of motion going on over here once again. At the end of the slider going up here with a big spacing, and then this guy is extra spaced, or maybe you could blanket this guy over here because it's a snare that's more spaced. It's following the melody once again. So these 2 objects are the same idea between these 3 objects. See, these 3 objects, look at these 3 objects, it's like a flow thing. It's like from a circle into a flow slider with a jump gap with a wide angle going into a small space. This guy is the kind of the same thing, except it should have been here, but instead it's over here. And this is the same slider copied over, I think, and Ctrl G. So I would have put it like this. I myself would have put it like this, but Nihil decided to do otherwise. He put a stop motion between 1 and 2. So 2 is a kick, and it's an object change between this object and this object. It's an object change. It's a circle. It's a slider. There's an object change. There's a movement change. Is there a flow change? There's not a flow change. Flow is the same. I mean, not really the same, because this 3 makes the 2 change the flow. So this, if this object wasn't here, this wouldn't really change the flow, because this curve isn't really noticeable. If you make it like this, it would perfectly follow the thing, and it would not be emphasized. But he's following kind of the, this is the snare, this is the kick, and this is also the lead melody, so this is like that. There's a stop motion thing, so if there's a stop motion thing, it means he's emphasizing this, which means he's either following the kicks or the lead melody. I have no idea why this 3 is over here, but maybe it's to complete this pattern. So you see, this is a triangle with 1, the start of 5, and then 3. It's like a triangular shape with the middle of it filled by these 3 objects. Otherwise, it would be empty if you look at it, right? So I think that's why 3 is over here. And this makes the end of this slider tail, this 3 and 1, a flowy kind of jump pattern. So these 3 guys over here, I think they're playing the hi-hat roll behind. Or is it like a hi-hat roll, or is it like a whoosh, there's something going whoosh over here. It starts with 1 actually. Yeah, it starts with 1, but like there's a hi-hat roll kind of thing going on, so they're all the same object playing the same sound. This guy is repeated. It's like a back and forth motion. You could also do this, but it's like a stylistic choice. So here's our snare, which is a different shape than these guys because it's a bigger slider. It has the same axis, the same curve, I think. These are mostly linear. This guy is almost linear. Same axis, but it's a change because it's more spaced out than these 3 objects. They're really closely packed together, but this guy's outside of the thing. And then the last object, you see, this 4, this last object is going downwards into this guy. Big emphasis. So we have a triangle, really simple, basic triangle over here, just literally like a fucking triangle. This guy is having this 15-degree axis we talked about before, followed by almost every pattern throughout the map. And then this guy is rotated 120 degrees, like this. Paste it over here. Rotated 120 degrees. Paste it over here. Where is my 5? Please place over here. So that means these three objects, they have a very prominent pointer at the middle. There is an empty space over here that's extremely emphasized after these three objects. So he later fills it with this one, which is a kick. And after the kick, there's a 2, which nothing really much happens in the song, so it's a small gap. But going to 3, this is a big gap. And they're all sort of following the same curvy motion, circular motion. So this 1 and 2 is a small gap. This 2 and 3 is an extreme gap because it's an emphasis. So the song is going down. He's following the melodies over here with the same object because it's the same sound in the song. It's following the song. It's song representation. So the triangular pattern is complete with these 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 objects. These 7 objects complete the triangular pattern. So he needs to go outside. He decides to go over here because after 4 it goes circularly. I mean, the flow goes towards the left, so he goes outside the triangle with this idea once repeated once again with this idea. I mean, it's the exact same pattern, just on a different axis. Really, it's like that, like this. It's the same axis, but this 5 is instead of going down like this, he made it go up so he could place his next pattern over here because there's more space over here. It is less space. So if he wanted to go down, he would really be cramped, and he would like have to place this thing with like a kind of relation to this one maybe, and then it would be really cramped. This space would go mostly unused because it's very cramped. But instead, he goes over here. There's not really that much of a relation between this one and this one. Then he's following the flow with this 2 guy over here. And then at the end of the slider there's a kick again. Once again we have a very small gap in order to emphasize the snare over here with the flowy guy I talked about earlier. But this one guy, it's not really part of the same idea, but the idea stands. This is a circle followed by a slider with a wide angle following the curve, obviously going this way. It has an axis. This pattern has an axis of like this. So he's following this axis, and he put this slider over here that follows that axis and brings it somewhere else. So you would expect this guy to go over here. Maybe this next one object should be over here. But remember, this is a kick. It needs to be emphasized. So he goes outside of this curve, of this circular curve. He goes outside of this to emphasize this one. And he goes back with this 2 to complete the axis of this 3, the axis of this pattern. And then this stop motion idea, once again, look at this 3. This is a kick followed by a snare, and then it's a 1-1-1 stop motion gap. It's the same idea that we put over here. It's the same idea. He repeats the same idea over here with this slider. So once again, this slider is not really that much curved compared to all the other sliders we've been seeing. You see, this is the usual slider he would use, kind of something like this, but it's not really that curved. It's sort of almost linear. And then these 2 objects have a curve relations because they're curved the same amount. But this guy goes outside of the fucking curve, changing the flow, changing the spacing. It's way outside. It's like fucking emphasized. It's fucking emphasized. It's also following the lead melody over here with the 2. He's following the lead melody because it goes. once again, this is a back and forth motion. This 1 and 2, this 1 and 2, it's a back and forth motion. It's not really circular, as opposed in opposition to these three guys over here. It's a very circular pattern. These guys are back and forth. This guy is also back and forth between the two and this guy. And then we have a slider. Do. Really big gap with 2 kicks, and then a slider to emphasize the melody, some representation. So the end of the slider is an inactive object once again, but it's the start of a stop motion of the cursor. So it's really fine. You don't have to put an active object in here. This would be overmatched, kind of. It'd be too hard to play. So with this, this guy and this guy, they share the same axis, kind of. It's like kind of the same, not really, but like it doesn't really matter. They're both very vertical and very back and forthy. And then there's a 1, 2, 3 over here. 1, 2. These guys are 2. You don't have the second object doesn't need to be one object. It's like this thing is one singular pattern, right? It's like a one singular object. You can see this is a one singular object. If you see it like a one singular object, this is a 1, 2, 3 with this guy as 1. This guy is 1. This guy is 1. This guy is 2. And this guy is 3. And the relation between these two objects is that the head of the slider and the tail of this slider are visually spaced similarly. Visually spaced close. I don't really know why this spacing is ditched this much big, to be honest, but like it could be because he wants to transition between 2 patterns. Like these two guys make a lot of space in between them, so he needs to fill it somehow. So in order to transition from this this very wide thing in an empty gap, he goes inside with like he has to go right here. I mean, if he goes like this is in relation to this object. It's not really filling this empty space over here. So he has to go right here and make his next pattern over here in the middle. So once again we have 2 kicks. They're the same object type. They're both sliders because they're kicks. If this was a circle, this would not really be the same sound, because these two are kicks. They are the same shape, same thing. It's just the axis is different. It's control H. And then this is a snare, so it is more spaced apart. Visually, part of the same pattern. 1, 2, and 3, visually they're spaced the same. But from 2 to 1, it's a really big gap. It's like a jump thing, and it's because it's a bigger gap than 1 and 2. In 2 and 1, this one, it's a jump, and it's a snare emphasized again. And then this 3 is also following the axis with this 2 guy, and it's following, it's filling the space very perfectly. This would be over here maybe, in order to make like a back and forth motion. But this would emphasize this 3 more than this guy. So he doesn't really want to emphasize 3 by making it a kind of comfortable to play with back and forth. 1, 2, 3, maybe kind of maybe 1, 2, 3, kind of related, the same visual spacing. This could be over here, as I said, if you wanted to emphasize 3, because it will be a back and forth, and then with going outside of the flow into somewhere else. This guy and this guy following the same thing. So this is an interesting pattern over here. Watch this. Watch how your cursor moves. So your cursor comes from the end of this slider onto this one. These three objects, they're stop motion. The motion starts at this 3, goes to 4, and stops once again. Because it's a reverse slider, we don't need to move here. And then at the end of this guy, it goes back. The motion starts at the middle, the red tick. The motion starts at the red tick once again. It goes to 5 and stops once again. Starts at back at this guy over here, and then stops at this guy at the end. And it follows a triangular thing with geometric control, and it's been repeated throughout the entirety of the map. And then there's not really anything happening in this section. There's no kicks, no snares, no hats. There's like just silence. He could maybe put a very long slider over here, but that is not the kind of style he's going for in this map. He wants an empty space, and then look, this 2 is overlapped with 1. It's a perfect overlap with a fucking 3 deep gap. If you put 2 over here, it's like a really awkward slow movement towards this 2, as if there was like a long slider, and he doesn't really want that. So he puts this big gap in order to make it more readable and play it better and not ugly like that slow fucking jump over there. I don't want to do it, but I showed you. This thing is ugly. It's like a stupid movement, pretty slow movement. Instead of that, he puts a perfect overlap, and then snare followed by a snare kick. So snare kick. This is a big gap at the 3. It's the same idea as I said, with the wide circular kind of flow. And then this guy at the end of this 3 and 1 is a stop motion, and this makes 1 and 2 extremely more emphasized. And then this 2 there's a 1 2 3 pattern over here. 1 2 3. This guy's 2, this guy's 1 and 3. 1 and 3 are related because this start of the 3 and this start of the 2 are related, visually spaced together, and also this kind of blankets the 2, kind of, not really, like it's inside the 2, right? And then we have the stop motion thing happening over here again with the snare and the kick. This is a slider to slider, but the different shape and the big spacing after this tail of 2, and then the start of the 3 makes a really big emphasis. A repeated idea of 1 motion spacing again, once again with the kind of triangular thing going on over here, filling this upward space created by this 3 over here. It's slightly curved. It opens this space up, and we fill this space so we can go over here at the top. So this is one of the patterns in this map, in the Ki. That is one of the prominent ideas in this map. It is the flower petals kind of thing going on. This thing. Look, this is one of them. This is one of these ideas. This is another one of these ideas. This is another one of these ideas. This is another one of these ideas. I'm sure you can see the connection over here. I'm sure you can see the connection over here. I don't like to point that. Once again, idea. Even this too. Oh. Once again, idea. Maybe this also counts, kind of. Oh yeah, definitely counts. Idea. you caught the idea is that you make a flower petal, kind of like a thing, with this one as a central thing, and then you expand outside this flower petal, and then you go outside of the flower petal with an object, and then this is very emphasized, and these like the following objects are very emphasized because these 5 and 6, they're outside. They expanded the flower petals. They made a lot of space on this side, on this side, on this side, everything. The space just grows exponentially. So these objects are extremely emphasized. It's a very cool idea found by Nihil. So the hi-hat rolls are going drrr, so he goes 3 1/4 bursts, and then a reverse slider. The movement starts back up at this guy over here. So if you really pay attention, this is kind of like a circular movement, but when you're playing this isn't really going to matter, because all you're going to do is you're going to be going back and forth. So the circular motions don't really matter here as much, but it certainly does matter in the visuals, because this flower petals, they're going here, here, and then it goes outside, and then it's going to go outside even more. It usually finishes with 4 to 6 objects, 4 to 6 petals, and it goes outside with, what the fuck did I press? It goes outside with some objects outside of the flower to emphasize these guys. Again, once again, 5 and 6, 5 and 6. 5 goes over here towards the 2. You expect 6 to be over here somewhere, right? But it doesn't really follow the curve because it's a snare, it's emphasized. And they're the same shape, the same slider shape, because they're following the melody. The same sound. And then there's a kick and a fucking 808 over here, so it's outside of the flower, going in like this guy, and then this 2 has a circular flow going towards the 1, but this 3 goes into an unexpected place where you don't expect the 3 to be inside the curve, so it's emphasized. It's a snare, because it's a snare, it's emphasized. If it was like a hat, it wouldn't be emphasized. If it was a kick, if it was a slightly less emphasized, I think, or it could be still emphasized as much. Like kicks and snare, they're about to they should be emphasized. Melodies secondary and hi-hats third. And then melodies along with vocals are the same precedence, with the same precedence in the emphasis hierarchy. So if you remove this 4, we can see that this 1, 2, and 3, there's like very scattered pattern. It has empty space all over the place. So you gotta fill one of these up. So Nihil decides to, with 4, fill this space over here. And once again, this 3 is like going outside this wide angle thing over here. So you would expect this the next object to be over here or something. Normally, you would expect it to be over here. If you made it unemphasized, obviously, because this 4 is emphasized because it's a kick, so it is like kind of more in an unexpected place, but it still follows the circular motion. And then the second idea, the flower petals idea, you have the hi-hat rolls going in strong, the flower petals go outside. He uses a kick slider over here because it's the visually part of the flower petals. The axis of the flower petals is obviously from 4, because 4 is following like this 15-degree angle, so it goes outside from that opening from that axis. So this pattern really has this kind of axis, this kind of cross-shaped axis. The snare 1 kick slider is very emphasized because it also has a lot of space between it and 2. And then we have our back and forth motion going again with these 2 guys again. So you see this pattern, where is it? If I can find it. Yeah, this pattern. Back and forth. Wait, maybe not this one. Not this one. Where is it? I think it was this one. Yes, same back and forth motion repeated throughout the entire map. As an idea, it is repeated inside this flower petal thing. Once again, it goes. Snare, kick, and then there's nothing happening at the end of this slider over here in the song. Kick, snare, kick, kick. This should not be emphasized, so it's an inactive object. And then this too is really emphasized because it is outside of the flower, really, and it's connected to the one of the petals over here with the empty space it creates over here and fills it like that very nicely. This tree is also connected to the flower. It is a flower petal, as you can see. This is the middle one, petal 1, petal 2, same thing. Petal 4, petal 5, they are the same shape. Just like a flower. And then we have the idea, once again. This 3 is emphasized because it's a kick, and that kick comes from the end of this slider tail, which is a big jump. Obviously, and then the same stop motion 1-1 spacing once again with the end of the snare is emphasized not because there's an active object on it, but because it's inactive and it makes a stop motion. Remember, you don't really have to put like on every snare you have to put an active object. No, that isn't true. This idea makes it so that inactive objects can still be emphasized by making the cursor stop. I'm getting really tired. My voice is getting really tired, so I'm gonna stop here. Thank you for watching the video. The map is in the description. It is left as an exercise for the viewer to analyze the rest of this map, and I will finish with playing the map over one map. Hopefully my recording didn't like fucking pause or anything, and I wasted this 30 minutes. 1 second. I'm playing the map. I need hit sounds. I failed. I need no fail. Thank you for watching. This has been Voxel.